Live now. Like, okay, well, guys, welcome to our How Not to Get Hacked live webinar. While we all settle down a bit, let's just all have a quick introduction in a while, and just wait for around 1 minute for people to just come right in. So in the meantime, please share this with your friends and family, anyone who needs to know what is it like, right? How is it like to protect yourself in the online world today? Okay. Hi, Andy. It's nice to have you here. All right. So why don't you first start off with introducing yourself, Nick?
Oh, my name is Nicholas. Um, I'm a software engineer in Next Academy, a mentor in Next Academy. Yeah.
So I think one of the funniest part is that what he did last time was that he tried hacking the Wi-Fi at Next Academy and he succeeded. So he loved tampering with things, playing around with things, and which is why he told us that it's time to actually educate everyone on how to actually protect ourselves in the digital world, because today we are more and more, I say, attached to the digital
Yes.
world, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I think right now maybe you can just start off with, do you have one very interesting story to share about how people get hacked?
How people get hacked?
Mm.
Most likely it comes from like all this stupidity that people do, like stupid stuff that people do. Like one of the most interesting one is like people actually just like take pictures of their own credit card information and then just post them online.
Mm.
So yeah, that's how you get your like credit card charged for things that you don't buy.
Yeah, I think that's just one of it. So how about something that is closer to home in Malaysia, something that you have seen happening in Malaysia?
Something that I've seen happening in Malaysia. Let me think. Huh. For me myself, I know.
Actually, in Malaysia, there is a lot of cases when it comes to being hacked, right?
Hmm.
I think one of the crucial ones was the fact that I think about 2 years ago, about 50 million records in Malaysia, 50 million records in Malaysia actually got exposed. And that, what it includes? It includes the name, your phone number, your address, your what's it called, your IC number as well, right? It has been crazy because these are very sensitive information. Can you imagine what they can do with those information? So I think these are some of the scary things.
Hmm.
And not just that, yesterday we got a very interesting news about the ring camera that got hacked. Maybe you could
Ah,
share with everyone.
so that one I think it's where the camera got hacked and then the kid was in the house was in home alone, and then the hacker started to like speak to the kid like through the cameras and whatnot and then start harassing the kid.
Yeah, it's insane. So actually, I read a little bit more about what happened was that for so Amazon, actually, the ring camera is owned by Amazon, and Amazon actually said that it is not their fault, right? But Amazon said that the family's password and username was exposed somewhere, right? And then the hacker actually take this information and saw that they have access to the
Mm.
CCTV. So it has been really, really crazy, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, are you guys ready for the session? So we have quite a lot of questions here, and today I think we want to share a lot about um, some of the ways to protect yourself, some of the ways to actually, I guess, how some of the ways that hackers can hack you and what you
Yes.
can do with it, right?
Mm.
So let's get started with the first question, right? Someone asked, will antivirus software solve most of the digital attacks?
So it will prevent. So basically, how antiviruses work is they basically scan through your system for known attacks and whatnot. So this only prevents attack from happening with where if the attack is coming from your computer itself. So it kind of protects you. Like for example, if you have malware or like
Mm.
viruses or like adwares that are installed on your computer by accident, you can clean those up. You can prevent them from running and such. But then let's say if the attacks come from like outside sources, they antiviruses wouldn't protect you from those. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, you should definitely have antivirus as well as the firewall softwares, right, enabled. You should definitely update, right, all this software. Make sure it's up to date with the latest things. But still, it is definitely a good protection. It still doesn't protect every single thing. But like what he said, it can protect you from malicious softwares.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think malicious softwares are one of the very scary things that which we would touch on in a bit. Okay, so the second question, how to secure our data that we share into the data sharing services. So what I'm guessing data sharing services is maybe you have your some people like to do this, right? They have Google Drive,
Yes.
they have Dropbox, right? And then inside Google Drive, Dropbox, they have a list of all their passwords and usernames inside, and then they put it into these places. Sometimes people can do it on iCloud as well. So what are your thoughts on those things?
So first of all, I wouldn't trust like all this like data sharing services like 100%. So normally I won't keep all this like what do you call this? Like all your passwords and username, all this stuff. I won't keep it in my like drives and whatnot. So then like if you want to keep your drive safe, right? So one thing is where because like all the drives they would have a settings to like basically like who to block out, who to allow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So make sure those settings are like set up properly, then you should be fine, right? Because like if like let's say you set up all this stuff and then like hackers still manage to get in, that's not really your fault. Like you can't
Yes.
do anything to protect yourself from that because it's on the services side. Yeah.
Yes, I think I read something really interesting lately. It's something we call the SIM swap hacking. So this guy, what happens is that very smart. Okay, so it's very sophisticated. So for some reason, I think some of his data got exposed, right?
Yes.
And then what happened next was that they actually went to so this his information got exposed, and then this hacker or this scammer actually went to the shop and said, hey, I lost my phone, so I need a new SIM card,
Yes.
right? And then technically just tell the person that, oh, I am Nick, right? And I am yeah, I lost my number, 012 something something something. So the service provider provided him the SIM card.
Yes.
So basically what is happening now is this scammer, I'm the scammer, right? Audrey scammer. Right now I have access to Nick's contact SIM card. So
Yes.
in other words, anything that comes to Nick's phone will come to me, right?
Yes.
But Nick, maybe he never thought about it. So Nick go like, oh, the service is really bad. So Nick never really cared.
Yep.
Um, so right now, so this is definitely one thing. And the one that I was reading was quite interesting was that for some reason this guy managed to actually do the SIM swap and then hack into one of the I think one of the services, hack into his iCloud.
Ah.
I think iCloud also, like, hack into the iCloud. And what happens is that he stored all his username, password, everything into the iCloud.
So basically he got all
So
the information.
basically everything was exposed, or his bank account, his cryptocurrency accounts, everything got exposed. And 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 then for whatever reasons, right, like the guys were trying to log into his bank account and try to take the money and put it into the exchanges,
Yeah.
to buy cryptocurrency and then to send the money out. And fortunately, for whatever reason, fortunately he managed to find out before that happens. because those hackers were actually trying to transfer 71,000 out of his account.
Too much.
It's so much. And fortunately, really thankfully, he found out about it and he managed to stop it just in time. But even so, trying to stop all these things, he called and people were like, oh, you need to wait for 2 days, you need to wait for 3 days. That is how dangerous it is. So everyone have to be really, really careful when it comes to really putting your stuff in these data sharing services. The moment it get compromised, then everything is, it's exposed lah. So yeah. So for all of you guys, if you guys have any interesting questions and whatnot, do feel free to drop in those questions and we will answer them. Okay, so okay. HC Wong asks, how to prevent key logging, right? Maybe you could explain what is key logging first.
So key logging is basically like hackers, they install either software or hardware that is aimed to like get all your login informations through your keystrokes. So those software or hardware will be monitoring like what you type on your keyboard. So from there, they can actually extract like your username and password.
Yeah. Guys, like one of the scariest thing is this. A lot of us love to download stuff from the internet. A lot of us love to download softwares from the internet. And very often when you download this software, you have no idea what is behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's very hard for you to know also. And what these people, the moment you download it, you execute the software, basically the hackers have access to your systems, and everything you type, all the alphabets and everything you type on your keyboard is actually recorded.
Yes.
That is how insane it is, right, guys? Like how to prevent it, I think.
Okay, so that goes like to our like first question. So installing like antiviruses will help because they will scan out all this like malicious softwares,
Yeah.
and then you can then proceed to quarantine them or like remove them from your system. But then there are also keyloggers which are hardwares. So basically how it works is so you have to connect your keyboard. So let's say you're using like an external keyboard. So you have to connect your keyboard into like a USB port, right? So basically this type of keylogger is basically connecting between the connector of your keyboard and the PC, right? So it's in between.
It's a hardware that
Yes.
I think
That is connected in between
yeah.
your keyboard and the computer.
Yeah, I think one key thing is this. Whenever you go anywhere and you're going to use a computer or a laptop that is not yours, first thing first is, look at the keyboard and see how is it attached to the computer.
Yes.
Right? If there's an additional device, that device will most likely be the one to
Yes, it's a key. It might be a keylogger.
yeah, it might be a keylogger and you have no idea, right? You could log in, you could do anything, and all these things are being recorded, guys. That is how scary it can be. Yeah. So let's go on to the. I hope that answered your question, right, Wong. There is another very interesting question here. Okay. What can I do? It's from Jason, right? What can I do other than relying on my phone's security to protect my information?
You kind of have to rely on it because you're trusting the phone by using it. But then how you can protect yourself more is by, so let's say when you download apps, right? Either from app stores or like from other online sources. So let's say you trust that online sources, right? So you downloaded the app and then it requires you to give some permissions, right? So normally I would think of like, for example, what is the app used for? Like, for example, what do I use the app for? Right? So if I use the app for like, for example, Google Maps and whatnot, so like let's say it's a map app, right? It's an app that gives you the map and like guides you through stuff. So let's say I'm using this like app and then it's asking for like location services. Yes, I can enable like location services because it's required for it to like actually track where am I and then like give me like directions. But then let's say if the app asks for like camera, right? So you might be thinking like, why does it need camera, right? So you might want to just like turn off permission for that functionality because like it might be like accessing your cameras and whatnot
Yeah.
without you knowing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think yeah. So what one key thing is this: when you download an app, make sure the permission levels are, you need to look into the permission levels. What are you permitting the app to look at, right?
Yes.
If you use Google Maps, fair enough, GPS makes sense. If you're going to download some really, some app and it asks for all sorts of permission, you should really think twice about, putting those
Giving
permissions
it.
in.
Yeah.
And furthermore, right, I think from what you're saying, sometimes even you so-called close your app, right?
Yes.
It doesn't mean that it's closed, it's still running in the background.
Yes, it can be running in the background. So you might want to just disable the permission so that it doesn't run in the background and like
Yeah.
monitoring you in secret.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when it's imagine this, if it's running in the background, it's tracking your GPS. It could be track using, getting into your camera. It could be also getting your, your voice and everything, right?
Yes.
It could literally listen to what you're saying, see what you're doing, and still know where you are. I think that's quite insane. And it's running in the background. You don't know that all these things are happening.
Yes.
Mm.
Mm.
And I think what else some people ask also, because today very often when we are doing something called 2FA, so two factor authentication, you may have noticed it. For example, you go into the bank account, right? And then when you're logging in, sometimes they will ask you to put in some 6-digit numbers and so on and so forth. Sometimes it's sent via SMS and stuff like that. uh yep, actually it's still vulnerable, right? It is still vulnerable. um but there is other tools as well. So some people actually use the 2FA, the physical device.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
are two, like
Yeah,
physical
physical.
device for
So the
2FS.
physical, instead of relying on your phone, you have the physical device as well, right? And make sure that those physical device, I mean, you don't lose it lah, okay?
Yeah,
Once you
you don't
lose
lose
it,
it.
is okay, bye bye already, okay? But that is really secure because the hackers would not be able to access your physical device, right? But the hackers would be able to access your phone or anything or your laptop remotely, so long they have access to it already. So
Yep.
that is one extra step to to safeguard yourself. um okay, so there is one question here. HD Wong asks, how to prevent identity theft on social media? Someone creating new profiles using your profile pictures.
I don't think you can kind of prevent that from happening though,
I
because
I have a suggestion,
mm,
right? My suggestion is don't even have any social media accounts.
yes, I mean,
Yeah, that's one
yes,
way.
yeah, but then like
Yeah.
people can still kind of pose as you, even though if you're not on any social media. So let's say you're like a very famous like I don't know person,
Yeah.
and then you don't have any social media, but then you're famous because like people see you on TVs and whatnot.
Yeah.
People can still make like profiles on social media regardless, right? To
Yeah.
pose as you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one key thing is really be careful of what you're posting, right? All your posts, you don't need all your posts to be public. In fact, the more things that are public, right, the more posts that are public, the more dangerous you can be.
Yes.
People know where you are. People know what you're doing. People who knows who are your friends and family. Those are the things that can. I think when you're posting too much, when you have a lot of like a lot of online footprint,
Yes.
and you don't know what those footprint are, people can use those things against
Yes.
you. So I have a story. I actually shared it on my Facebook. My WeChat account got hacked,
Yes.
and someone posted, use my WeChat account to scam people, and then scam people already, and then very smart, they clear off every single thing on almost every single thing on the WeChat account. When I actually log back into the WeChat account, it
You
looks
don't see anything.
I don't see anything. I had no suspicion,
Mm.
but people were like messaging me and saying that I'm a scammer, and I was like, what? I've not been using this account for 1 year, right? So that was what happened to me, and it is very scary, right? Because fortunately I don't use my WeChat account often, and I only had 2 friends on WeChat, fortunately. But imagine if I use my Facebook very often. Imagine I have like all my friends, all my thousand word friends. People can literally use my account and scam all my friends, and scam all my friends or send malicious software to all my friends.
They can
And
also get your like chat histories and whatnot,
yeah,
and then they can kind of get information from there as well if they need to.
yeah. So be very very careful, right?
Mm.
Identity theft is, to me, is it's scary, and because right now your social media accounts are basically representing you in, the cyber, the World Wide Web. We all definitely need to secure it, right?
Yeah.
Really need to secure it.
So like for example, if you post like for example you are on a plane like going for vacations and whatnot, if the hacker is actually targeting you, right? They can send an email like when you're on a plane or something saying like, oh, you need to come back and like do this, like settle your bank, maybe your bank account got locked or something. They can like send all these emails,
Yeah.
and then they create a sense of urgency because like right now you're on the phone, you're
Yeah.
going to vacation and
Yeah.
whatnot, and then you can't come back immediately. So then they will give you like a link and say like, oh, please fill out all this information for us to help you with all this stuff. And then
Yeah.
that's how they trick you into giving out all those informations.
Yeah. Okay, there's a very interesting story here. So Sim Chun Fai said, talking about app permissions, right? Do you guys remember, like, let's just say if right now me and Nick we talk about going to Japan, hey, let's go to Japan, let's go to Japan. Then Facebook will definitely show flight tickets to Japan, right? Yeah, I mean we've heard of that. We are like, is Facebook listening to us? So I think the story here is this. Speaking of app permission, I've encountered Facebook showing relevant ads few minutes after I spoke to my friends nearby. So you know what he did? He turned off the microphone permission for Facebook, and after that he didn't get any more ads anymore. So yeah.
So maybe they don't do it through microphone as well. They can do it through like locations and whatnot, and then like based on like people's that you're friends with, right? They can see like, oh, they are looking for all this kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
then maybe like people around him are also interested, so they can also send the ads to like people around him as well.
Yeah, it's like it's really insane. um do you know much about quantum hacking, quantum computer?
No.
So Wong, we are not too familiar with, quantum encryption and whatnot, but one key thing is this, right? Any encryption can be decrypted. Right? It's just a matter of time.
Yes.
So just remember this, any encryption can be decrypted. So we talk about, we can't, so this is maybe a bit more for, developer talk lah, okay? Passwords, for example, if you encrypt a password, the password can be decrypted. So the way they make sure that the password is secure, right? Okay, for you guys also who owns a business and who requires you guys to log in and whatnot, um, you know, if you're going to have if you're going to be gathering passwords, you want to make sure that it is hashed and sorted. So in other words, that is literally, there is pretty much no way for it to be hacked unless you provide the information to the person lah.
Yeah. So basically hashing is just converting the information one way in a one way like direction. So it cannot be converted back to the original value.
Yeah. So which is why that would be the most secure. So always remember, encryption can be decrypted, okay? Anything that's encrypted can be decrypted. So always remember that. To Edwin Lee, he said, I want to learn how to hack lah. You want to learn how to hack ah? You sure ah? You can get into a lot of hot soup one, People who, honestly speaking, people who hack other people actually get into a longer jail term than people who do crime outside, in the real world. So be careful, guys. Don't be like Edwin. um, all right. Next question. Next question. Um, how to protect our own website application or software from being hacked?
So talking about web apps, right? How they can hack you is by, okay, one thing is accessing your server on itself, right? So if they get into your server, they can change your database and whatnot. So yes. So that also depends on a lot of other like things. But then, okay, so how they hack you is they can be doing like SQL injections, which right now most of your web apps will prevent that already,
Yeah.
right? And then they can try and access your database from your web app itself. So normally what we do to like prevent this is by separating our database. So your web apps, like your front end and back end, should be in one server, and then your database should be on another server. So even though if they get access to one of your servers, they can't actually access your database servers. Yeah.
Okay, one key thing, make sure that everything you have is backup.
Yes.
Right? Because you can get hacked in a few ways. number one way, for example, is that they can hack you, lock down all your files and folders, and
Yes.
then ask you to pay Bitcoin.
Yes.
So that's
Ransomwares.
that's what we call ransomwares. And to quote an example, this year in Australia, there's one hospital. I think it's a medical facility or hospital. They got hacked. Well, literally, they actually got this ransomware, and all the files are being locked down. So they needed to pay to unlock those files. And even after they pay, not all the files are recovered. Okay.
Yes.
But the question is, how did the ransomware get into the computer in the first place? That is usually human error,
Yes.
right? Okay, all these things cannot just suddenly come in and then everything just. It's usually always human related errors.
Yes. People
Yeah.
downloading stuff, like
Yeah.
plugging in like the wrong thumb drives and all this stuff. It will all, yeah.
Yeah. And then the second one is recently in Malaysia, Malindo Air actually have a data breach as well. And with Malindo Air, what happened is that it was not ransomware or anything, but there was someone internally actually exposed the database or exposed it out to the hacker. So those, I think you have to keep that in mind, like especially when you guys are building applications and softwares, permission levels are very important.
Correct.
Right? You don't give superpower permissions to everyone, only certain sets of people. So those are some of the key things you need to remember. People, it's either human error or the human purposely do it lah.
Yeah.
So it's those two things, right? So I think that's one way to secure. But aside from that, then there's all those best practices
Yes.
that
Correct.
people would have also. Um, okay, so the next one is this. How to stop people from accessing data on a stolen HDD.
So HDD is basically your hard drive on your
Yeah.
computer. So normally how you protect your HDD is by using a software, right, to encrypt the data on your HDD. So what the software does is basically you set a password, then it proceeds to encrypt all your files and folders with that password, right?
Yep.
So you can do it the whole drive, do it to the whole drive, or you can just do it like for one folder or maybe file specific, right? So yeah, it basically takes a password, it encrypts your data with all those passwords, and then only by providing the same password you can decrypt it, right? Then, for example, Windows, I don't remember which version the Windows is, but then they actually provided a software
Yeah.
to actually encrypt your stuff, right?
Yeah, which is really so. Yeah, basically it's just a habit lah, good habit lah.
Yes.
But assuming if I didn't lock, all my any files and folders in my HDD, my hard drive, and then I lose it, is there anything that I can do?
Not really, I guess, because like people can just access the hard drive and then like just steal your stuff from there on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Well,
better to keep your stuff like encrypted anyways.
encrypted. Yeah. It's tough, right? I think people are becoming more and more sophisticated this year. If you guys need to know, here is a very interesting fact. 4.1 billion records are being exposed in the first half of 2019 itself. First half the year, not yet even had second half the year. So all these data breaches is going to be more and more rampant. So the question is this: now that data breaches are becoming more and more rampant, what would happen when there are data breaches? What can happen?
So basically, when there are data breaches, your emails, your name, maybe your phone number, all this stuff will be exposed to people, right? So from all this stuff, like I can use your phone number for like SMS scams, right? I can use your emails for like phishing as well,
Yeah.
right? All this stuff. And then since I have your emails, I can also try to like use a brute force method to go like log into your stuff, right?
Yeah.
For example, let's say you have a Facebook account, and then I can just try and use that username, and then I can try like many password and just try to access your account by you doing that.
Yeah. So it's scary. One key thing is I think this is one way to think about it. Hackers are very good in recycling things. They are very good in recycling your passwords and your usernames and all your information. If one service cannot get it, they will try the second service, they try the third service, they try the fourth service, and I swear there will be a lot of people who will get hit because a lot of them use the same username, password, everything across all different
Yes.
services.
So once like one of them got hacked, the other ones will like follow soon after because they will try and use the same username and password through all of them, and then one of them will
Yeah.
surely get hacked again.
So one good way, so Chung Fai actually suggested monitor.firefox.com is one way for you to check if your email is a part of data breaches, or there's another website called MI Porn, right?
Yes, MIPWNED. Yeah. PWNED. Yes.
PWNED. So those websites you want to see if your email has actually been exposed.
Yes.
But not just that. Like for me personally, I use something called 1Password. So 1Password basically is a password management system. So all my services have different passwords, right? And
Yes.
it's generated randomly. So I only need to remember my 1Password password. But then and then all my other services I don't really need to remember because 1Password will help me actually put those passwords in.
Yes.
But one good thing about 1Password is that whenever there is a data breach, 1Password will actually alert me as well and just tell me that, hey, there's a data breach with this. And not just that, he will also alert me if I use the same password in
multiple places.
As well. So I think these tools are amazing. Of course, there's like some fear also lah, but these tools are really amazing, right? And I think that's something you guys should think about. Um, okay, next one. It is by Jen Feng. Okay, what is the best way to protect your passwords and credit card details?
Okay, your credit card details are really quite simple. You don't post it online, right?
Yeah.
Then when let's say you're paying for a dinner and whatnot, so you always want to follow the like what do you call that servers back to like where they actually do the payment, so you can actually see them actually doing the payments yourself, right? Because if you don't look at them, right, they might be bribed to actually like skim your credit card. So what I mean by skim your credit card is basically scanning your credit card. So all those information on your credit card can be scanned and then be used to clone a new credit card on its own. So they can then use that same credit card and then like go and like make charges everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
then your password,
yeah.
you don't use the same password over and over again. You use a stronger password. Yeah.
Yeah. Use 1Password. After sharing my story with a friend, my friend actually got onto 1Password. So yeah, go check it out. I know it's 200 ringgit per year, but if you look at it, it's really quite worth it lah. So yeah, so just like what he said, there is this particular shop that I mean I don't go to, but what we realized is that every time, so this is what my friend realized. Every time when he goes to that shop to buy contact lenses and he used the credit card, 2 days or 1 or 2 days later, his credit card would be used. There will be a credit card fraud on his credit card, right? And then he will always need to block and like cancel the card, right? And he tried it, and what he realized is that at first, the first time, you never think much
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
you never think.
But then the second, the third, the fourth time, he realized that it's every single time when he go to that same shop to buy contact lenses. I don't want to name names, okay? Yeah, but then because it's a bit hard to prove, right? But yeah, so those are like some of the key things. Just keep a lookout for it. Do check out your credit card details to see, what are some of the things that people buy with your credit card. You have to be careful. Mm, this question, are you familiar with it?
What's practice to avoid ARP spoofing? Don't connect to public Wi-Fi's.
Okay.
So if ARP spoofing only works, like from my knowledge, ARP spoofing only works when the attackers is also on your network itself. So if you want to avoid ARP spoofing, the best choice that you have is either use your mobile data or you connect to your own like hotspot and whatnot.
Maybe before that, what is ARP spoofing?
ARP spoofing is basically, so imagine you, so basically when you are like browsing and whatnot, you are connected to your router, right? So you and your router has like a connection, right? What ARP spoofing does is basically another person comes in, they basically tell the router that you are the like the client, right? So the attacker basically sits itself in the middle of the connection.
Yeah.
So the attacker lies to the router saying that, oh, I am the user. And then it lies to the user saying that I'm the router. So then the request will go into the attacker's computer or device, and then it will be forwarded to the router and then vice versa as well. So all the connection will go through that attacker.
Is it similar to a man in the middle attack?
Yes, basically it's a man-in-the-middle attack.
Okay, so it's a man in the middle attack, guys. Yeah. So someone in the middle.
Yes, someone in the middle and then is listening to like your conversation with the router. So yes, then they can choose to do, like for example, look into the request and whatnot, look into all those things that you send through the like the Wi-Fi, and also they can also like jam it so that you can't get any internet access as well.
So Jim said I have been hacked by Anonymous. What can I do to avoid it? So maybe the first question is more like, what got hacked?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's always the first question. What got hacked? Because there's so many hacking techniques, right? Some are some are social engineering, meaning that they talk to the person and then get you comfortable and getting you to say out all this information. Some are reliant on human errors and human nature. A lot of them are reliant on human errors, human nature. And of course, there's a category where it's really just technical hacking. So maybe if you could share with us what actually got hacked, and then maybe then
we can narrow down like where did it started and whatnot.
Yeah, we can narrow it down after that. Okay, but in the meantime, while you tell us what it is, we're going to move on to the next question, right? So the next question is how to identify. Okay, this is by Yin Fei. I think this is a really good question. How to identify red flags in phishing emails? First thing first, phishing is not fishing. Okay, it's not catching fish. It's PHISHING. But I mean the concept is quite similar. Like
Yes.
It's kind of like treating you like fish, and then the hackers are trying to catch you, lah. Okay.
Yes.
So how to identify red flags? Come on.
So first things first, when you look at the email, right? So email will always like address you as with your names and whatnot. So if the email just addresses you as like sir, madam, and your email address and whatnot, it's probably a phishing email, right? So because when you sign up for like a website and whatnot, they always ask for your first name and last name.
Yeah.
So they will always have your first name and last name.
It's
so
very
they can
general.
Yes, they can then use the first name and last name to like address you as like your name, right? Good evening, like Nicholas and whatnot. So if it says like good evening sir and whatnot, then you might want to like go out from the email, like stop reading it and whatnot. So the second thing is look at the sender. So when you look at when email is sent over, when you open up the email, so it should state like who is actually sending the email, right? So take note of the email address, and then if it looks fishy, then just don't touch the email, right?
So very often you get things like PayPal, right? They says you think that this email is actually from your PayPal, and when you actually look at the email, it's like no reply at very very like abcdefg.com. So always check the email address. I think that's the one key thing to think about. And the link.
Yes, so basically if you are not too sure and then they are telling you to like click on the links and whatnot, so also you might want to first check the link first before even clicking in. Like so for like laptops and PC users, you can just hover your mouse over the link and then it will show you at the bottom left of your screen. It will show you like where this link leads to, right? Or this button links to, right? So then from there you can see that is it actually going to PayPal or is it going to somewhere else?
Yeah.
right? So for phone user, you can like tap on the button or link and hold it, and then a pop-up will show like where is it going to,
Yeah.
right? Mm.
So three things. See how is it being written. If it's phishing, it's usually very general,
Yes.
right? You'll also notice that the email is usually quite urgent one,
Yes.
right? Like they create a sense of urgency, so you don't pay attention to it, and then you faster, I need to click on some buttons, right? Secondly is to check the email address. Who is the one sending? Don't just read the name, okay? Just really look into the email address. That's number two. And number three is to check the links behind the buttons and so on and so forth, because those links could be leading you to, and we don't know where they might be
Yes.
leading you to, okay?
They can lead you to another phishing website where it looks like a legit
Yeah.
website, but it's not.
So
Yeah.
so imagine this, right? CIMB sent okay. So an email said that this email is from CIMB, right? And then you read it and stuff like that. And then this button, when you click on this button, the link behind the button is actually not CIMB, it's CLMB, right? It looks alike. The I and the L look alike. So sometimes you may also mistake it, right? Oh, okay, this is the correct website. So those are some of the key things to really look into and
Yes.
be careful.
And then if you're really not sure about like the emails, is it legit or not, you can always contact the bank themselves or the services themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think okay. I think we would definitely want to ask one key thing, right? How can we secure our bank account? Or how do hackers try to hack our bank account?
Oh, so basically they send you all these phishing emails. They ask
Mm-hmm.
you like, for example, they'll tell you like, oh, your account has been locked. Then they will tell you like, oh, please follow this URL to provide us with these information so that we can like prove you are the legit like owner of this account, so we can help you unlock your account and whatnot.
Yeah.
So when you click into the link, it will show you like a legit, like it looks legit,
Like it's a
legit.
fake site.
Yes, a fake site which will have like all this like, oh, what is your like security like questions and whatnot, and then you're typing all your answers. They will ask for your card and all this stuff. Yeah, so that is how they kind of get your information.
Yeah. Uh okay, bank account, you definitely, I mean, it's all our hard-earned money, like, right, being put into it. And the last thing you want is to have like some horrible person, taking all your hard-earned money away. So we definitely need to secure it, right? So be careful of phishing sites, phishing emails. So when you look into emails, regardless what, when people say something like, oh, your account has been locked and so on and so forth, click onto this button. Don't click onto the button. If you are concerned, call your bank's call center or help desk first, and ask if this situation is actually real or not. It probably might be fake,
Yes.
right? Another way is, we call it social engineering. So a lady would call, a lady or a guy lah, okay, would
Yes.
call and say, hey sir, Nick, I'm calling from your bank. I noticed that your card has been used in Singapore. Is that you?
Mm.
Nick will probably say
No.
no. Then say, oh, okay, I think it's best we block your card number lah, because they are incurring charges, 2,000 Sing dollars and
Yes.
so on. So what would Nick do will be like, got shocked and
Yes.
yeah.
That's basically the general structure of like a phishing call or what emails. They'll basically create a sense of urgency,
Yeah.
and then they'll try to get your information from there.
Then I will just say, okay, I will help you initiate the process of blocking your card. All right, so what will happen is that your phone, you should be getting a 6 digit from the SMS from your bank, from the bank. Can you tell me the 6 digit?
Yes.
So this
No.
is okay. So this is what happened, right? Basically, always remember, no bank personnel would ask you for any confidential information.
They will have already known
Yeah,
if they need to.
they would never ask anything from you. In this case, what you should do is hang up the damn phone
And then call your bank.
and then call your bank and see what's happening. That is one key thing that you must do, right? Don't just receive number. If it's a bank, eventually you should always initiate the call to call back to the bank. And if you get the email, type the bank's URL manually as opposed to clicking from the email.
Yeah.
So those are the very key things that you should do. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Um, how to avoid phone data being hacked through Wi-Fi. So this is asked by YK.
So I think what you mean by phone data is basically your information, your phone information. So most of the stuff wouldn't get hacked, but then they can actually get some information out of it. Like for example, if you're connecting through a public Wi-Fi, like as mentioned before, they can perform a man-in-the-middle attack to like block you, jam you from the Wi-Fi, or maybe read some of your um, so what we call this as request, right? So when
Yeah.
you request for a server to get something for you, so that is a request, right? So they can read into some of the requests, but then as long as you're using HTTPS, which is like the padlock beside your URL bar, that is they cannot actually get any information from that. They can only jam your Wi-Fi connection. So also when your phone connects to your router and whatnot, people can actually get your MAC address.
I
So
see.
what is MAC address is basically a unique number that's assigned to each of your devices. So from using the MAC address, one of the exploit that I know of is that you can use the MAC address to kick someone off the Wi-Fi network.
Okay.
So basically disconnecting you from the Wi-Fi network. So why does a hacker wants to do this? It can be many reasons. So a few of the reasons is one is to have fun, like seeing your colleague and whatnot. Like it's like frustrating. Like why am I like disconnecting from the Wi-Fi network? So that is fun, right? And also if they disconnect you from the router, right, from the Wi-Fi network, they can also create a fake Wi-Fi network which they have access to. Because if they kick you off, so this attack works when, like for example, if the attacker cannot do, because a man in the middle can only happen if the attacker is in the same Wi-Fi network. So without him joining the Wi-Fi network, he cannot perform a MIT, a man in the middle. But then the disconnecting exploit that I talked about can be performed even though if he's not in the network. So he can actually kick you out from the network, create a fake Wi-Fi um, access point, what we call access point. So that one is where the hacker has access to. So then your phone will try to connect to that one, and then when you're in, that is when they can actually do the man in the middle attack. Mm.
Wow. Okay. That was very technical.
Yes.
Alright. Let's see if there are more questions here. So the next one is this one we have already done. Okay. So Yong Kaho is asking, I think related to databases. So how to secure an SQL database. So basically when people are building an app, right? Okay, if you have Airbnb or you have Grab or anything, it's going to be powered by a database, right? Database is where all the information is stored inside. So the question is how to secure a database.
So how you secure a database is like I mentioned before, you would always separate your app, your actual like web app with your database. So then from there, like let's say if the person has access to your web app, right, they will still not have any access to your database itself. And then also for your database, always use a strong username and password, because like databases can also have the username and passwords.
Yeah.
So always have strong username and passwords, right? Then also whitelist. So on your database server, you can whitelist only specific traffics.
Yep.
Like for example, you only want to whitelist traffics that are from your own web apps, right? For example, you have like two apps that are connecting to the same database,
Yeah.
right? So on the database side, you only want to allow those two from the request from those two addresses,
Yeah.
right? From other addresses, you want to block it, right? So other people that has no access but then know where is your database could not access anything, right?
So I think this is something that, I mean, really you need to actually think about securing your business, right? Because all your data, all this database, and stuff like this, people can just not just people can do I mean stealing data is one thing. People can probably erase every single thing as
Yes, they
well.
can erase
So
stuff.
so can you imagine you have 100,000 customer information or 100,000 customers with you, all their data with you, and they erase every single thing. All your your many years of hard work is all gone down to the drain.
Imagine it happens to a hospital, like you just remove everyone's like medical records and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, all your medical records, all your complications and all the things that you're allergic to and stuff like this, and the doctors or the nurses have no idea.
Yes.
And that is how scary it can be, and I think it's very important, for people to actually know the best practices in securing their database. So actually there is one more here. How to protect ourselves from hackers.
Oh, that's very generic.
It's very generic, and there are many ways, right? Actually, I'll start off with one way. All your important services have different passwords for all of them. That is so important. So if something got hit, at least another thing is still secure.
Yeah, they'll be still alive.
Yeah. So I think that's one from me.
Oh no, another one for me.
Yeah.
So don't download like softwares from untrusted sources. Like for example, if you're on your laptop and then you want to find something like cracked version and whatnot. So if you wanna, it's not like we are supporting like piracy and whatnot, but then let's say if you want to download something from there, you make sure that the person cracking the stuff is reputable.
Yeah.
Right? You don't go and simply like download all this like cracked version of stuff and then expecting it to be clean without any malwares. It might contain malwares.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, another one from me. Uh, okay, websites, right? So you guys pay attention to your browser. There's something called HTTP and another thing called HTTPS, right? Best practice is, um, if you can just browse HTTPS websites, okay? HTTP, you can browse them but never log in into them. One of the reasons why is that your username and passwords is exposed. So imagine someone, let's just say you are you use the public Wi-Fi, or you can be at home using your own Wi-Fi. So long the hacker have access to your Wi-Fi, he can actually see what you're doing, right? Especially for HTTP websites, right, without the S. If you ever log in into them, all your username and your passwords will be exposed to them. They actually have all this information. And once they have all this information, and you know what we say, hackers are very good in recycling, right? They'll use this information and put it to your bank account, to all your very
Yeah,
important
they'll try it
services.
out.
They'll try it out over and over again. So I think that's one key thing.
Yes.
Okay, to you.
So when you see like pen drives lying on the floor, please don't plug those into your computer. It's not really safe.
Yeah.
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 So hackers can also like include malwares and whatnot onto your pen drive, and then they basically exploit you by. So it depends on you as well as a user. So if you have the plug and play, so there's this thing on Windows called plug and play, which basically runs whatever is on the pen drive. So you can actually just plug in the pen drive with the malware and then it will just execute whatever is inside the pen drive, and then yeah, you just got infected with like malware, adwares and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very scary. Okay. I think one key thing is this: always be up to date. Or really, I mean, you can just always kind of read the newspaper, be up to date with some of the hackings that happened. For especially the devices that you have. These days we are having more and more home devices. And those home devices are actually quite susceptible to hacking.
Yes.
CCTV, for example, can be hacked. Um, there's one I read I thought was really interesting, was Amazon Echo. Can you believe it? Amazon Echo can be hacked with with a laser. So they use a laser and point to Amazon Echo, and the laser will speak to
Yes.
Amazon Echo, and Amazon Echo will do stuff. So imagine they do this. They point the laser at that Amazon Echo, and it asks Amazon Echo, please open all the doors, right? All your gates. Oh, okay, yeah. So those things could happen. So those things are very dangerous, and you need to be up to date, definitely. And especially when you especially when we are more and more reliant on all these smart devices, all these IoTs. Yeah. You have anything on your end?
Speaking of up to date, should always keep all your like your Windows update or Mac
Yeah.
updates all up to date, because what they're doing is they are not only like putting like new stuff, new features into your laptops and whatnot or PC, but then they are also fixing like bugs and whatnot. So if any like exploit gets like known, right? So they will try to fix it. After they fix it, they will push it as like an update, right? So if you don't update them, that means you now have an existing like exploit that people can use, and then everyone knows about it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Scary. Oh, there's one that I read that was very interesting. So remember just now we talked about phishing, right? Phishing emails and stuff like that. There's another one they call it spear phishing. Have you heard of it?
Not really. I don't
So
think so.
so phishing means you try to fish, try your luck lah. You hit everyone, and then hopefully you get
One or two.
one or two.
Yes.
But spear phishing is very different. They identify one person and hit that one person.
Yeah. So
That is spear
basically, it's
phishing.
where, like I said, like when that guy is like posting online saying that he's on vacation and whatnot, and then yeah,
Yeah.
he's being targeted.
But also the question is, why would they be targeted? So imagine this. Imagine that they want to actually hack this big company, right? Very secure company, let's just say. So there's a few ways to go about it. They could whack their way into it, brute force their way into it, and that is going to be a bit tough. Or another way we always say is to rely on human error.
Yes.
So assuming Audrey is in that company, assuming me, and then I love to post everything, online and stuff like that. And then this hacker can do is that, because I have so much information online, try to be my friend, try to send stuff over, try to send emails over to me, and okay, assuming I become, maybe he's a hacker lah, huh? So assuming we become friends, you talk to me and you know all my interests, and I'm like, oh, these good friends, a very nice friend, and then he sent an email to me, and then I get this email and I was like, oh, okay, so I open up. So it's very innocent, right?
Yes.
But actually inside the email, inside that thing that he asked me to download, there is a malware inside.
Yes.
And what happens is that he took control of my computer without me knowing. So everything happens behind the scenes, right? And he took control of let's just say my work computer. And now what he has access to my computer, he has access to all my colleagues.
Yes.
And the next thing he does is that he sent an email using my name to everyone. So he sent it to everyone in my company, and everyone got like, oh yeah, I know Audrey what. So they will open the email, and then and download the file again. And now each and every one of them have their computer infected with the malware. So yep. So basically, that is actually one way to take down an organization.
Yes, kind of. So that's why you want to give like as least permission as possible to certain employees.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's say if someone gets hacked, the hacker would not be immediately like hacking other stuff, like because they don't have the immediate like permissions to access all those stuff, so they can't actually hack those. They have to climb their way up, like you said, like sending emails to infect more people in the organization.
Yeah. So very scary, really, really very scary. I think these are some of the key stories that we've heard out there. People, there are a lot of stories out there. You can read up on it as well. There are a lot of very sophisticated ones as well, like how Bangladesh actually lost about how many million? 100 million USD to one hack, right? But it is really very technical and very sophisticated. They literally redirect the Swift code. I don't even know how they think about it. I don't even know how they how it works, but they redirect the Swift code, and yeah, and they lost around, I think, about around 100 million. So there are a lot of things, but I think for us, the common people, the few things you can really do is these are the few things you can really do. I tell you, if the hacker really target you, you actually
You cannot really protect yourself
you cannot really
100%, right?
you cannot really protect yourself 100%. But then the thing is this, right? Who are we to get targeted by hackers, right? Like, it's not like I'm a gazillionaire. It's not like I am someone super 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 famous, right? So those things. So but what we can do is really, make sure our passwords are strong. our passwords are for all the important things are different. Once please don't use there's a story someone actually used the same password across all the services and his bank got hacked, like his bank account got hacked and 7,000 ringgit was gone. Yeah, can you imagine that? 7,000 bucks is a lot of money. um you know, pay attention to the links that you go into. CIMB and C1MB is two different links. They look alike, but it is actually very different.
Yes.
Maybank, MAYBANK, and
BENK.
BENK. At first glance, it look alike, but they are two different things. Check out the emails that people are
Yes.
sending you. And also another very interesting thing is this: today, a lot of people are using Word documents
Yes.
to send Word documents. Okay, Microsoft Word document to send all these malicious softwares and malicious code.
Yes.
Um,
So
yeah.
they actually rely on you using an older version.
Oh, okay.
Yes, correct. So they target you by like, okay, so they think that you are using like an older version of Word, which is susceptible to
Yeah.
this kind of attacks. So then they send you the file, which includes the document, the Word document file itself that includes the malware.
Yeah.
So then if you open the Word document with that specific version or lower, then you'll get infected by the malware.
Yeah.
But if you are using an up-to-date one, I think they already patched it already.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I think that's quite a bit lah. I think we shared quite a bit today. There are actually I think there are more, right? We actually put a list. So we're going to be sharing the list of we are putting it into a blog, and then we're going to be sharing it with you guys. And if you guys want, feel free to say yes over there. Um, but we'll be sharing it, and you can see stories of how people get hacked. What are some of the ways that common ways, I would say common ways that hackers use to do it. What can they do with your information? Can you imagine, be it to blackmail you, those things happen, right? Spy on you, get all your information, identity theft, all these things are very common, I guess.
Actually, like there is one which is weird. Like hackers actually got into I think it was like a gambling place.
Oh, gambling place.
Yeah, they actually exposed all the data from them because like how they got in is through a fish tank. Yeah. So the fish tank has no security whatsoever, but then it's connected to a server. So the hackers infiltrate by infiltrating through the fish tank and then connecting to the server from there. And then from there they expose out all the data and whatnot.
That's insane.
Mm.
Well, okay, guys. I think right now it's 8 already. On our end is 8. There might be a bit of a lag time. So I think we cover quite a bit of stuff, and always remember to secure yourself. Um, Especially today where we become more and more reliant on the internet. If we do not secure ourselves, I think I don't know what could happen to us, right? So be vigilant, be careful, open your eyes really big when you're, using the internet. You know, there are some really quick things that you can do by yourself. Um, and yeah, happy browsing the internet. Okay, and do not get hacked.
Yes.
Hopefully that helps you guys, and I think that's about it.
Mm.
So, well, one more key thing, guys, right? For some of you guys who are going to be if you want to actually learn how to code, right, or build websites or build your apps, right, do join us at Next Academy. We don't just talk about building stuff, but also we do share about some of the key things that you guys should look into so that you guys could protect your apps, building your apps better as well.
Yes.
Right, so it's not just about building, right? Today is about building and also securing it as well. So do join us. The next intake will be happening in January, and there will be the part-time courses and the full-time courses as well. And aside from that, I think, right, some of you guys, I have some people who came out to us and say that they would like to have eventually like to have this on-site, maybe an on-site talk on some of the ways to not get hacked online. And I mean, if you come here on site, you get to see some examples as well. So if you would like to join us for that, just fill in your details inside inside our Google form. It's nextmind.co/secure, right? Those are the physical on-site talks that we will be having soon. So just tune in and we will see you soon. Is there anything you want to say to them before we close?
No.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for your time and thank you guys, the Instagram people and the YouTube people. Thank you. Okay, we'll see you um, in a while, in a bit. Okay, done.